Today we're diving deep into the world of software testing. I'm joined with an expert who has 20 plus years experience in software testing, and he has a wealth of experience. So the job title is Senior Expert Quality Engineer, and I'm quite intrigued to actually find out how far his career has gone and how much of an expert he is in this field. I'm a software tester myself, so I'm so excited to learn with you guys the depths of where software testing goes. Vernon, you are software testing royalty. Thank you for joining. Welcome.
Greetings. Thanks for having me. I'm super excited to be on this, man. Hyping about it. So, yeah,
Thank
super
you.
glad. Thank you so much for inviting me on.
I'm glad. So I was really interested because you have a wealth of experience that I've been tapping into since I met you, and I'll continue to tap. That's why I'm just like, you're a mentor within the community, and you train people, you lead people, and you do all sorts. So thank you for doing that, because it's good to also see someone who's successful who's also reaching back to give back as well.
This is going to sound hideously cheesy, but it's true. So, like the Lego movie says, everybody is awesome, but not everybody gets told, and not everybody gets celebrated. So whenever you realize that you're in front of somebody who's incredible, we should let them know.
Absolutely.
So that's what I find myself doing all the time. I'm like, you are amazing. Here's why you're amazing. You're incredible. You should do more of this. This is amazing. You know that was... And I think that is what I'm into. So how I describe it is, I don't know if you remember or watched the TV show back in the day called Heroes.
No.
So it was a TV show where basically one day a bunch of people just woke up with superpowers.
Okay.
And there were these two Japanese dudes. One was called Hero, one was called Ando. Hero had the power to control time and space, so he could teleport all over the place. His best friend Ando had no superpowers. Sad times for him. But in season 3, he got superpowers, and his power was to amplify everybody else's superpowers. And that's what I like to do.
I love that.
Like they're not awesome because I made them all. It's nothing to do with me. I'm just saying, you're awesome. I'm going to amplify the awesomeness.
And you know what? Just the simple encouragement that you do to someone takes such a huge impact and significantly changes somebody's life, right?
And it's easy, and it happens fast, and you don't always know.
Yeah.
And why that's important is because the opposite is also true.
Yeah.
You can suppress and crush people.
Yeah.
And you don't even realize it. So if you, wherever possible, if you can, be mindful and just try and bring some positivity, leave a room better than you found it, that kind of thing, then, that's why you can have a better impact, just by being kind, just by amplifying, just by making people realize that you're incredible. You have a talent.
Yeah. Okay, so software testing.
Yes.
How did you get into the world of software testing?
Okay. So the original plan was to be a games designer. I played video games probably too much when I was younger. And so the original plan was to be a games designer. So I got a job at a games publisher in North London. But it then transpired that you could have a career in software testing. Games testers, at least back in the day when I was doing it, they really, software testers we generally feel like if there's a food chain, we're at the bottom of it. But in games, you absolutely are at the bottom of that food chain. But when I did a little bit of the most trivial amount of research, went to a job site, and I was like, oh, software testing, all these incredible jobs are coming back. You can be a software tester at British Airways. You can be a software tester at Vodafone. And I'm like, huh? Vodafone has software testers? And then you're looking at the jobs. Oh, I can do that. And then here's the main thing. I'm going to be honest. I did games testing for 3 years. This is 2002, so bear that in mind. So 2002 to 2005, I was a games tester. My starting salary was £14,500. And 3 years later when I left, it was £14,852.
Okay.
The salaries that I saw on these jobs were not that. And I was like, excuse me, you can do what? And I enjoyed the job. That's the other thing. The job was fun. It ticked all the boxes of things that I enjoyed. So I was like, well, with Love Games, I'm going to go.
I'm out.
I'll still play video games a
Yeah.
lot in my spare time, but
Yeah.
professionally, I'm gonna keep it moving.
Okay, interesting. So, what is software testing?
Oh my days. How much time we got for this point? Okay, so so I guess in one line, you could say my role on the team is to make sure that the product does what we want it to do and doesn't do what we don't want it to do. That's easy to say as a one-liner, and then you can go down this whole rabbit hole of skills and perspectives and opinions and philosophies, and it can just go absolutely nuts. But I think at its essence, that is what you're trying to do. You're trying to find evidence that the thing does what you want it to do, and evidence that it doesn't do what you don't want it to do. The problem becomes is that is an infinite space. There's no, and you can keep testing indefinitely. So the skill starts to come into it. Whereas, okay, since we can keep doing this infinitely, what should I look for and what should I not look for, and how should I look for it, and when should I stop? When have I gathered enough evidence where everyone is now comfortable? Okay, cool, we can ship this thing, and that's where things start to get interesting.
I can tell you've been in testing for a long time because that description was perfect. I'm like, wow, I couldn't have put it any better. Like,
Oh, mate, yeah. I think, to be honest, that is, and he said part of the problem. Screw it. It is part of the problem. So we are not good at describing our work.
yeah,
All software is basically intangible to some degree. But if I'm a coder, I'm putting stuff on screen. Even if you don't understand what you're seeing, you can see it there. And then you can see the impact of that writing, that text, that typing, that creation
yeah,
in an app or on a website or whatever. We deal in ideas and concepts. Like there is no, show me your, your thinking. It's pure knowledge work.
yeah.
So the trick is to how do you make your work visible?
Yeah, and it's like creating that psychology of testing, isn't it? Because
Yeah.
it's like you can't really quantify almost what you're doing. It's more like the psychology, the thinking that you're approaching the project with.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. But then weirdly, at the same time, everybody understands testing. On some level, everybody tests all the time. Here's an example. Let's say you're in a bar. What's your beverage of choice? What's your favorite drink?
I'll probably go for a passion fruit mojito if they have that,
Okay.
or a cosmopolitan.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're ordering a passion fruit mojito.
Yes.
So you ask for the passion fruit mojito. You are given a passion fruit mojito. Do you have a problem or no problem?
No problem there. I'm very happy.
Haha. Here's the thing. Did you get the right change?
Oh.
Are you already drunk and should you have not gotten the damn thing? Did you have the drink but it was poured out in a tray? And there's here's the drink.
Oh.
Did you get the drink but it was 2 weeks later? There's so many ways that can go wrong.
Yeah.
Where on the face of it you got what you asked for. Did they say, here's your drink, numbnuts? And you're like, well, I got the drink, but I got insulted as well.
Yeah.
I didn't want that. So so if you think about that in that scenario and then flip it into a software scenario,
Yeah.
and the request, compare the request of I would like a passion fruit mojito to the requirements and user stories that you get, infinitely more complicated. And that means there's so many opportunities to misunderstand the request or interpret the request. And that's where the problem begins. That's where the fun begins.
Yeah, and I love that. I love the rabbit hole that you go into when you're testing something.
Yeah, that's the fun part, right?
Yeah, that's the fun part.
Yeah.
So, senior expert quality engineer. I had to practice that so many times this week. I was like, Vernon's coming on my show. I have to practice this title because I don't want to insult him. But I'm in software testing and I've never heard of this title. Please enlighten me.
Basically, what that means is everywhere I go, I'm preceded by people throwing rose petals. That's basically what that
Sorry,
means.
I didn't prep any rose petals.
It's going to be a 1-star review coming through. No, kid. So it's just, all it is It's just a way to level us in the company that I work at. So I
Okay.
work at a health tech company, and they just need a way to differentiate. You know, you're at this level, you're
Yeah.
at this level, you have this, so you can set the expectations of what your teammates should have with you and things like that. So other companies will do it differently. You know, I think a lot of the MANG companies, the Metas of the world and the Alphabets of the world, they'll just literally call it, you're an L1, you're an L5, whatever. We've come up with this very fancy senior expert quality engineer. Thank you very much. I'm not just a senior quality
You're
engineer.
an expert.
No, I'm not just an expert. I'm a senior expert quality engineer. Thank you very much. So whenever you see me, where's the camera? Whenever you see me in public, make sure you bow, salute.
Salute.
Okay.
Respect Vernon,
put some
guys.
respect on my name.
Respect him. So,
Oh, man.
so if we're talking about your day-to-day tasks, right? What does that look like at your level, or just generally what a software tester would do day to day?
This is just my opinion. I've not put any research into this, right? But what I've experienced is when you start your career as a software tester, you're here. You're like you got your software and you're here. That's where you're focused at. But it doesn't take long for you to start saying things like, this would be easier if.
If, yeah.
This would be easier if I could create an app to test and I could destroy it really easily. This would be easier if I had data to use and I could just create it in the format that I wanted, and so on and so on and so on. So you start to use tools. Either you learn how to use existing tools or you make tools yourself.
Yeah.
But then the final level, if you like, the final form is, it'd be better if we just didn't even have to find these damn things in the first place. So instead of looking for bugs in the product, you start looking for bugs in the system. It's like, why are we even creating these bugs?
Yeah.
If these requirements made more sense,
Yeah.
you wouldn't even have to find these damn bugs.
And that's the shifting left concept, right?
It's shifting left, right, up, down, top, bottom,
Yeah,
middle,
all around.
back, front, everywhere. It doesn't even matter.
Yeah.
Just shift out of where testing usually occurs. If you think of that infinity symbol of DevOps, there's a very specific place traditionally where testers happened.
Yeah.
But the skill set that you have as a tester, the mindset, your perspective, your know-how, your insight, it can be applied throughout that process. So do that. And again, but that's where some more challenges enter the chat, if you like, because are your teammates and your colleagues expecting you? Do they want you in those conversations?
Are they kind of like empowering you to raise problems and
Exactly.
query systems and procedures,
Exactly.
processes, things like that? Yeah.
And that can be quite tough. So I had a hunch. I shared it on LinkedIn a few weeks ago, which is I have this feeling that software testers care so much about testing.
Oh yeah, that they leave.
Yeah,
I saw that one. Yeah.
Because you get access to the levers, you get access to the controls. You always have to, as a tester, you quite often have to persuade somebody else to do something. Whereas if I'm the CTO, I'm just telling people, man. I'm not asking anybody anything.
Yeah.
Or if I'm the engineering manager, I have access to the lever that needs to be pulled. And I think that is a consequence of sometimes, definitely not every time, but sometimes we feel like we're in hostile territory and we're not being taken seriously. Now, some of that is down to how we operate and the things that we say and do. But largely, my opinion is that's a leadership issue. That's a cultural issue.
Yeah, absolutely. I think if your company it doesn't value testing and quality, and they just ship you things, especially I don't know, I know it's quite a blanket statement to say, but I found generally waterfall environments are pretty much like that, where it's like everything's been everything's been done. You just need to sign it off.
Yeah.
You just don't rock the boat. Just sign it off.
That's such a big challenge.
Yeah.
Because in that situation, in fact, whenever software has been delivered, basically everyone else on the team, on the organization, is excited to release this thing. They're like, when can we release this thing? It's going to be absolutely amazing. Our customers are going to love it. And you're the tester. You're like, hold up.
We're not ready.
This thing is not ready. There's a problem here. There's a problem here. You're like the party people. Everyone's looking at you like, really, Rachel? Really? Can we not just release this thing?
Such a
We've
party
been working
pooper,
on this
man.
thing. You're a party pooper. And that's difficult for a whole bunch of reasons.
Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah. But you're definitely right. It's more prone, you're more likely to run into that in a waterfall environment for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
Definitely. Because the dates are so hardcore.
Yeah, and usually all the requirements are so set in stone. They're not usually very malleable. You can't really, they're not so flexible. Whereas agile environments have found you maybe release an iteration of that software and you go, actually, this isn't working
Absolutely
that
right.
well. Let's change this requirement. And usually people are like, yeah, sure.
But you know why that is?
Why?
In waterfall, the presumption is the plan is correct.
True.
In agile, the presumption is the plan is wrong.
But I don't know. I'm one of those people who I'm like, it can't be right from the beginning. It can't be.
But you fostered that mindset, I think.
Yeah.
Like you've developed it and you've honed it. Whereas I think, generally speaking, that's not the mindset that
Of most people.
most people on teams have. They're
Yeah.
like, yeah, the plan is fine. So any room for maneuver, any slack in the system was however many weeks or months ago when you conceived of the idea. Now, as the deadline is looming, there's less wiggle room. It's like, what are we going to do? We're going to get this thing out.
Yeah.
And it's the testing that can get, squished
Yeah.
in that situation.
So let's step back a bit. What's automation testing? What's manual testing?
Oh, my days. What? Rachel, why are you doing this to me? Oh, my days. Okay. As far as the marketplace is concerned, manual testing is the testing that you do without tools. You do it by hand. I'm doing air quotes, by hand. And automation testing is testing that you perform with tools. That is what the market perceives. That is how tool vendors position things. And there's quite a few testers who reiterate or amplify that message. But the reality is that distinction doesn't really make sense because we're all using tools. It's just to what degree, and that's not even an interesting. It's not even an interesting kind of thing to think about. It's the right question, but usually people ask it at the wrong time. So we are shooting this in Manchester. I'm in Leicester. If you asked me how I got here and I said I flew in a rocket, you'd be like, why did you do that? Like a rocket? But if I said, but I actually had to go and deliver something to the moon first and then come here, oh, that would make sense. So the context is always the key. The first question is, what is the goal? Like, what am I trying to learn about this product or this service? And then the question becomes, what's the best way to gather that information? And it may or may not be with a tool. Maybe the easiest or most cost-effective or whatever insert your adjective, whatever, is for just a human to eyeball the thing and go, yep, that's awesome. In other situations, it'll be, no, we need to spin up a tool because we need to do this load test. We don't have 10 million users to hand. We need to create them synthetically, point it at the app, and see what happens. That kind of ties back to what you're saying about waterfall. Mm-hmm. I think testing traditionally has had this perception that it looks and feels like manual labor.
Yeah.
It's humans sat typing and clicking things, but that isn't the work. That's kind of like saying cooking is just chopping up some stuff and warming it up. The cooking is, that thing has this flavor and this aroma. And if I blend it with this thing, then I get something even better and amazing. But you can't see that. The only thing you can see is somebody cutting up stuff and putting stuff into a thing and warming it up. Yeah. And you go, oh, that's cooking. That's not the cooking. It's part of the cooking, but it's not the whole thing.
What do you think about software test engineer titles? I find that there's a lot of there's a lot of titles out there.
Senior expert.
Yeah, like yours, software test engineer. Then you have I understand kind of the developer in test, but not really, because I'm like, are you a developer? Are you a tester? Are we?
Oh,
I don't get that. I don't
Yeah.
get that because a developer mindset is different to a tester mindset. So I don't know what the background is to be a developer in test.
Okay.
And then the software test engineer what I am operating as at the moment.
Okay.
But I feel like instead of software tester, the titles get a bit more complicated the more you maybe become more senior. Is that your experience? Because I feel like that's my observation.
A software tester in one organization can be doing quite different work to someone with the same job title in a different organization. And that's, is obviously problematic. It causes its challenges, right? So I think what's important is in your organization, in your context, with your teammates and your peers in other roles, I think agreeing what the expectations are with each other, I think that's the important thing to do. The job title does become, it's easy for somebody like me to say, the job title is not important.
It's not important, yeah.
Because I've been doing this for 20 years.
Yeah. But I'm looking at it from the perspective of, I want to get into software testing.
Right.
I'm seeing all these different
Right.
titles, and I feel like software testing is one of those
Exactly.
very complicated
It is.
roles that you're thinking, am I an automation? Do I want to be an automation engineer? Do I want to be a manual tester? Do I want to be a software test engineer? Do I want to be a developer
Yeah.
in testing?
Yeah.
So it's like, if I was getting into this industry, I'd be so confused. I'd be like, which one do I target?
Yeah. I think it sets expectations for the people that you communicate with. Like I said, though, the challenge is the terms are overloaded. So you could assume somebody would have the same definition of you: software tester, automation engineer, SDET, quality engineer, etc., etc. But until you have the actual conversation, it can be tricky. So one way around that is to kind of step back, and instead of thinking of the name, let's talk about what are the activities and what are the skills and what are the things that people do. And at least if I can talk about those things, then you can say at the end of it, and then in my organization, we called that person a blah, and then you can get on the same page as that. It can be quite tricky. And as for somebody trying to start, you have to use tools. Like if you're starting out, you're gonna find it difficult to have no knowledge of any tools. Another title is the technical tester. Like, what does that mean? Usually technical is synonymous with coding. That's how the market treats it. But the reality is that's not true. You can be an API tester, you can be a performance tester, you can be a security tester, all extremely technical. But you're not working in an IDE as such or as much as somebody else is. And so if you're starting out, I think you need to tick that technical box somehow. It could be APIs. It could be GUI automation tools, so tools that drive web browsers. And Git, because that's how the code is managed. Like, learn these things to some degree. But what you mustn't neglect are the actual testing skills. Where are the problems? What does a problem look like? The people that are going to be using this software, what do they care about? The people that are going to be building this software, what do they care about? The people that are going to be selling the software, what do they care about? How do I squish all of that thing together to come out with a strategy, an approach that's going to make all of those people happy? That's testing. Communicating, being able to tell the testing story. I did this because. I didn't do this because. Understanding that people are going to make assumptions, not because they're evil, but because they're human. We all do it. And trying to avoid those traps and be aware of those pitfalls. You need to cover those two bases. There's a technical side and there's a testing side. The way I like to describe it is, and everybody, a lot of people do this, there are so-called hard skills and there are so-called soft skills or interpersonal skills if you prefer. And you need to do both.
I argue in tech, in the ecosystem, software testing is the best role. That's my opinion, guys. I will die on that mountain.
You'll get no disagreement from me.
So, how do people... Vernon, I love that you agree. I love that. As an expert, you would agree. So, as the best role in tech, unfortunately, a lot of people don't know about software testing.
Rude.
I know. It's like people are not aware we exist. And when I say I'm a software tester, they're like, "Oh, you a developer?" I'm like, "Nope. I test software. So what does that look like? I'm like, well, you know, the thing that the developer makes, I make sure that he's done it right or she's done it right.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's when they're like, oh, I didn't know that was the thing. So I have a lot of people who ask me, how do I get into software testing? So what would be your, I guess, top advice of somebody who's trying to pivot from another role, let's say non-technical, not in tech, because I guess we want to make it accessible to those people who are outside of the tech ecosystem.
Okay.
What kind of steps could they take if you could summarize like a quick, transition into a software testing role?
Okay. Thank God it's 2024. So information is not your issue. If you have a computer, you're golden. First thing you need to learn is the art of software testing. So that's some of the things we were just talking about. Then what is the testing mindset and cultivating that, the curiosity, the critical thinking. Then the other thing you need to learn about is what is software? Like, what is it? What are the constituent parts of it? And gain some level of comfort with controlling some of that stuff. So it could be writing code, it could be APIs, it could be databases, it could be security, anything. Go down that rabbit hole, and then finally there's the interpersonal skills, and I'm probably predominantly thinking about two things. One is active listening, and the other one is the ability to ask open questions. So if you do those three things, I think you're good to go. And the amazing thing is, like I said, it's 2024. Google is your friend. YouTube is your friend. There are so many communities, like LinkedIn is your friend. Head to LinkedIn immediately. Start to, search for software testing. There'll be people like you on there talking about software testing. Follow podcasts like this. Follow YouTube channels like this. And just start to become aware of the conversations and who are the prominent voices in those things, or who are the people that are speaking to you that you gravitate towards, and just follow them and see what they're talking about and see where they point you at and follow those resources, and you'll just end up going down the rabbit hole. The thing you will quickly run into, though, is that you will need to demonstrate actual experience with software testing. So everything I talked about was very theoretical. But where and how do you apply those skills? And that's where you can use things like open source. A lot of the materials that you'll find online, they will give you practice resources that you can use with. So you can use that to build up your portfolio, and you can talk about that with potential hirers. Yeah. And the final thing is you've got to network, because it's easier for somebody to hire someone they know than a complete stranger. And so hop into the Tech Talks with Rachel YouTube channel, pop into the comments and start commenting. Find blogs, comment. Get on LinkedIn, comment. Be part of the conversation. Go on Twitter/X if you are game and be part of the conversation. Head to Reddit, be part of the conversation.
Join Slack channels.
Slack channels, communities, all over the place. If you can, get to a conference, find a local meetup, go there, meet people, network, and start to engage with people. And they'll be like, oh yeah, I met such and such. Yeah, they're really keen. They had some really good insights. They talked about this, that, and the other. So yeah, do that.
Even myself, like going back to how I met you, right?
Yeah.
I was like, I'm jumping on, whatever you're doing, because I was like, if I could have somebody who I can connect with in the industry who's doing what I would love to do. Yeah. You're speaking at conferences, you're training people, you're giving back to the community like that. And I personally see you as a mentor within the software testing community and for myself. So I definitely put myself out there. I was like, hey, can I grab your number? And we stayed in touch since then. And we touched base here and there, and just having that contact in the industry will help me, and that's just like an example of how you can do it, right? It's not that complicated. When I went to that conference, I didn't know I'd meet you, right? Yeah. But it's just utilizing like, oh, he looks like a cool guy. I think I get on with him. Let me connect with him, because we further had a chat in a couple of workshops that you were having. Yeah. And I was like, you know what? I really value this person's input or opinions or viewpoints. So it's like, okay, I can connect with this person. We're not saying speak to absolutely anyone and everybody, right? Yeah. So it's like connect with people who you genuinely feel like, oh, okay, I feel like they'll bring some value into my life, and then you can do that extra step of, oh, can I get your LinkedIn, or can I get your where are you contactable, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It links back to, you're absolutely right. It's things like social media. The clue is in the first word, social. Like you're building relationships with
Yeah.
people. So I like to call it, I like to refer it as don't be an energy vampire.
Yeah.
So don't just show up and say, what can you give me? What can you do for me? What can you do for me?
Exactly.
What can you do for me?
Yeah.
Just be helpful. Just be
Yeah.
like, hey, you wrote a thing. That was really useful. That helped me.
Yeah.
You posted this thing on Monday. On Tuesday, I was able to go into the office and make use of that information that
Yeah.
you shared. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And it's things like that. You just share. You just help. You be of value. You be of service. Be interesting. Be curious.
Yeah.
Listen.
Yeah.
Don't just go into broadcast mode, he says on a YouTube channel show. But like don't go into, be part of the conversation. I'm telling you, like it's difficult to articulate, but being part of the conversation,
Yeah.
it just opens opportunities and doors, and it's the best thing you can do, I think.
So, I just want to ask if you've had any particular challenges, or you've come in contact with anything significant that you feel like, oh, I wish I could have known before I went into software testing. So, for example, maybe challenges in the maybe development team, or maybe other teams that you're interacting with, or anything in general that you feel like, that's a bit annoying, or that could be better.
Oh boy. Yeah, I think there is, it's this feeling and behavior that we're not all on the same team. And testers are not immune from this. Like I remember in my first testing role, I would find a bug and I'd be like, oh, what kind of moron would allow a bug like this? That's what I'd be thinking. Literally, that's verbatim. Thinking, what kind of idiot would let a bug like that get outrageous, right?
Yeah.
Ridiculous. Completely ridiculous.
Oh,
Just
God.
not sensible.
That is
And
so
then
funny.
likewise, maybe our developers, our teammates, are a little bit disparaging about what we do and do not do, or what we know and what we don't know. But you know what? We're all on the same team. We cannot, if there's a problem in production or a release does not occur, because there was a bug, I found a bug. Let's say I found a bug before, we were going to ship. It's not, I didn't win.
Yeah.
And the developer, in your face, you lost. It's like, we lost. We did not, we
As
are
a
in
collective.
this together.
Yeah.
I like football. So apologies to the non-sports fans in the audience, but like, it would be like, there's a World Cup final, your team is a goal down and you've got a corner, last minute, you're a defender, and you say, I'm not going up to go and try and score a goal, I'm a defender, I'm staying back here. Like the objective is to win the game.
Yeah, as a team.
So how can you use your skills that you have as a defender that got you in the team? That's why you're in the team, because you're a defender. But right now, the situation requires us to score a goal. So how can you use your skills to score the goal?
Yeah.
That's what we need to do more of. And I wish I'd known that before, because I would have saved myself a lot of frustration and arguments, let's say.
I had the same issue, Vernon. I would kind of see myself as like, that kind of mentality of like, testers, we're on one side, developers on the other side. No, it doesn't. I think the longer you have in the game of software testing, you're like, no, actually, let's work together. If you can pair with a developer and explain to them the kind of bugs you're experiencing, and maybe they don't fully agree, it's fine. You can have a conversation. You can be like, this is why I feel like this is a bug, rather than going, you're wrong, I'm right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, don't get it. In my head,
Yeah.
right, I will say this. 99.9% of I'm focused on developers, but it applies to anybody.
Yeah.
Designer, BA, whatever.
Yeah.
They're super smart. So in my head, it's a game of cat and mouse.
Yeah.
I am trying to
Outsmart
outthink them
Yeah.
at all times. I'm trying to think, haha, you didn't think about this situation. We didn't do this. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter whether it's before something's been built, when I've got something anything.
Do you
Because
know
I
what?
think that's about healthy competition.
Yeah.
But it's not about when you discover a bug or you find a gap in our thinking, it's not like, ha ha, in your face, you're a loser. Like, it's not.
Yeah,
That's
because
not
I
what we're doing.
think we do that because we're not as smart as them. So we're like, I'm trying to outthink you,
I
like you
love it.
say. Yeah,
Yeah, I love it.
I do it. I still do it, but on a sly. But we're on the same team.
No one will see this. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's just us two talking.
My colleagues are there rolling their eyes.
Yeah, you're gonna get to the office on Monday. HR, can we have a word, please, Rachel?
I knew
Step
Rachel
into
was
the
doing
office.
that. So, you do coaching and
Yeah.
speaking on the side. I just want to speak on how you were able to kind of do like an extra thing other than your day job, right? So you've been able to kind of bring value in different ways other than just software testing on your day to day. So how do you, I guess, suggest or how could you advise people to break that glass ceiling of like, okay, I'm a senior now, I don't want to be a manager, I want to continue testing, but how do I then bring more value, for example, what you're doing on the side?
Man, so there's two avenues. So the avenue that I used is, again, this is another idiotic mindset that I had back in the day. So I essentially did a lot of extracurricular studying, attending events online, in person, and I could only do that thanks to my wife, you know, picking up things after work because she works her butt off as well. She runs her own business. She's a lawyer. It's not like she's just chilling, smoking cigars, not doing anything. So I was able to do that. And I had a really idiotic attitude back in there. I was like, well, if you don't go to these meetups after work, then you're an absolute clown. You're not taking things seriously. That's moronic. Like, people have lives, people have things they're trying to get done outside of work. They're working in order to enable stuff outside of work. So now, where I've evolved my thinking is training and learning is first class work. It's just as important as the actual work. You can't separate the two. So ideally, there should be space in your day job to learn purely. I'm not doing any delivery work as such. And if you think about the cliche, if you like, or the analogy, is if your job is to cut trees down and you have an axe and you keep chopping, the axe gets duller
Yeah.
and duller, and you have to stop chopping so you can sharpen
Sharpen
it and then continue. That's what learning is. If you just keep chopping and doing the thing, you start to you get tunnel vision, and you stop realizing there's a whole world of people doing this job. So create space if you can. I mean, I say create space like it's super easy, but read YouTube, blogs, conversation, networking, events. Leverage all of these things, but it needs to be done during work because it's part of your job is to be as effective as possible. And if you're having problems with that, that's another topic that you can go out into you can hit me up. I'll give you some tips on that. There's people out there who have tips on it. But yeah, it's first class work. It's just as important as the delivery work that you're doing that is much more visible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think never stop learning, right?
Never. We're knowledge workers. It's
Yeah.
in the job title.
Yeah. So, two more questions. What emerging technologies or trends do you think would be important for us software testers to be aware of in the next 5 to 10 years?
I'm going to be so basic here. AI. Like it's
AI.
AI, generative AI. It's impossible to ignore. It's impossible to ignore. It's gonna impact everything.
Yeah.
It's gonna impact everything from a point of view of what are people's expectations of you in the role, and it's gonna impact how you perform your role. So I'd say that's the obvious, easy answer. But ultimately, it kind of doesn't matter, because if you think about the last 10 years, maybe even 5 years, what have we had? We've had AI, machine learning, we've had crypto, NFTs, we've had the cloud, we've had NoSQL.
A lot.
It's a lot of stuff. So trying to predict the tool I don't know how much value there is in trying to make that bet. Then I think there's more value in staying flexible and trying to stay abreast and practicing how well you learn and how well you adopt things and, being curious.
Yeah.
And it doesn't take a lot of, playfulness with a technology to be 2 steps ahead of everybody else. That's what I would advise. So I think the obvious answer is AI, but the real answer is it doesn't bloody matter, because by its nature there'll be a new technology, and there'll be a new technology, and there'll be a new technology.
It never stops.
It doesn't stop.
So what's your favorite piece of advice, we'll end there, that you've ever received?
I think my favorite piece of advice, the one that I always go to first is the from a professional point of view, is what I got in my first job. So I was complaining he was the assistant manager. I was like, this is trash. We do a lot of stupid crap. Why are we doing this all the time? This doesn't make no sense. I'm not getting no respect. All of this. And it was my first testing job. I was testing video games. Shout out to you, Steve Fraser. And he goes, look, Vern, this is perfect. This is exactly where you need to be in your career. I was like, why is that? He goes, because if you succeed in this terrible environment, everything else is going to be easy after that. And I was like, you got a point.
Got a point.
That's a shout. And that is how it has proven to be. So whenever you're in a difficult situation, extract the learning. I think the quote, I never lose, I either win or learn. It might have been attributed to Nelson Mandela. Don't quote me on that. Ask ChatGPT. But I think that's the attitude to have. Either win or learn. Never lose.
I love that. Yeah, that's a mindset I'm trying to adopt, because I usually have a very emotional response to everything. And I feel like I've either failed or not been successful. But yeah, learning is a good mindset to have.
100%. I'm not trying to sound like, Saint Vernon. Like
Yeah.
I
Happens
rant
to
and rave.
everyone. Yeah.
But that's the reminder that I try and give myself.
Just remind yourself that it's a lesson.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So Vernon, where do we find you for those of our viewers who want to connect with you?
So I've got a website, vernonrichards.com. I'm also got a podcast that we also put on YouTube. Production values are lacking as I look around here. Lacking.
Vernon.
No. I'm joking. Not lacking. We decided we just wanted to practice the reps. So that's the Vernon Richards Show. You can find it on YouTube. The VernonRichardsShow.com. You can find us there. I post and I write articles to typeshare.co/Vernon Richards, LinkedIn, all that good stuff.
Guys, Vernon loves to actually pour into people. So if you'd love to connect with him, I am sure he'll be a great resource.
I'm here for it. Do it. Oh, one more thing.
Yeah.
As we're recording this,
Yes.
my friend Nicola Lindgren and I, we wrote a book. It's coming out on Monday. Go get the book.
Nice.
The Software Tester's Journey.
I will link that book in the bio as well.
Okay.
Yeah. No, thank you so much for joining, guys. So, I'm a software tester, and this conversation was so important to me because you got to see the ins and outs of what I actually do, and I hope it was insightful. Again, it's the best career there is in tech. So if you'd like to get in, connect with Vernon, connect with myself, and if you've liked this episode, please like, comment, and share, and subscribe. I will see you on the next episode. See you guys.